Hello and welcome to Soulful Valley, Kati and Arahi.
Yeah, welcome and thank you. We're so happy to be here, Katie.
It's great to have you both here. Kati and Arahi are the first authors to be interviewed, having submitted their chapter to our book Evolving on Purpose. Yay! They're also our first guests in New Zealand. So we are spreading the love of the Soulful Valley podcast in New Zealand now. So it's great to be over at that side of the world. So can I ask you both? I'll start with you, Kati, because I know it started with you. What were your reasons for writing in this book? How did you get here?
Well, I was sitting at the beautiful beach at one of the Cook Islands in Rarotonga, and a little message dropped in from Soulful Valley Publishing, Katie Carey, asking me if I wanted to be a contributing author to her beautiful book, Evolving on Purpose. And even though I was in a little bit of a different mode at this stage, I thought this title and this idea resonated. It sounded really beautiful. And I got in touch with you, got back to you, asking for more information. And here I am.
And it was divinely timed. Perhaps I should approach more people when they're in holiday mode because they can feel it then.
Yes, they are in receptive mode.
Definitely. And Arahi, how did you end up here?
Well, basically, Kati came home and told me exactly what she had said to you about being in touch with you and was thinking of writing the book, etc. And she said, "Oh, maybe we could write something together." And then she showed me the title of your book, and I was like, "Well, I've already got something that I'd started years ago. A little bit of work within my own family history, and so I sort of had something sort of already sitting there that just resonated with the title straight away. So I also said, yeah, I'm happy to write with you if you like. We'll put something in and co-create. And so I did. Yeah, added my 2 cents, and it was great fun. Great fun.
And you've created a beautiful chapter together, and nobody else has done that in this multi-author book. It's not even something I've thought of putting out there, but the way that you've brought both of your stories in together into the same chapter, it's just so beautiful. Could you share your experience so far of working on this project?
I think I shared with you, Katie, that like when we were writing and texting, the chapter deadline, and I'm not sure if what is required, like all these, the mind share that switches on after you already felt a resonance. And I noticed I had a little bit of a blockage, or a little bit of you could even call it fear, I guess. Do I have a story to tell? And especially when he said he already has a story, he has his chapter, his draft done. I started panicking a little bit, and the process so far was really deep, and we were doing some work together as well. Reflection. He took me on a little journey, actually, to connect with my ancestral field. Because I knew I had things to write about. I have quite an interesting heritage and ancestry lineage, with being from Germany, and then particularly being in East Germany, and there's been a lot of things bubbling up and wanting to be expressed, and the question just was how. So we did an inner journey, and that was a beautiful experience because it touched really deep into things that I have come across before in on my journey, but really, transforming it into something that carries that essence of whatever I wanted to, bring across. That's a different thing, that requires to distance yourself a little bit again. from that story itself. Yeah, so that's been my journey so far with this chapter and with this magical project, really, and doing it with Te Arahi was really special.
So would you like to share a little bit about your chapter, Kati?
Yeah, so my chapter is a journey into embodied feminine wisdom. So it's a lot about the hurdles, the challenges, the difficulties into, fully embracing our own inner voice, our inner intuition. Since, in my upbringing, and, I'm a psychologist, so I do guide a lot of people as well. So I know that in many women or human beings in particular, intuition and, listening and connecting with that inner gift is not really enhanced or, encouraged or valued as such. And that was my story too, that was my experience too, growing up. So this is really what my chapter is about, how my ancestors or my ancestral field has in one way challenged me to connect with it, but on the other hand also equip me with resources to connect with this, or to develop it anyway, or to dive deep anyway in terms of that. So it's about empowerment and embracing that good old gut feeling, I guess,
And it's beautiful. And I did actually want or felt that somebody needed to be writing about the divine feminine in this chapter, because it is so important, because so many of us females have been in the masculine for years and in hustle mode and not connecting with ourselves. And it's a really important topic, isn't it? And Te Arahi, what was your chapter about?
I based mine on a lineage perspective. I spoke on there, based it on my one of my ancestors. He was a Maori chief up in the Bay of Islands in the east coast of New Zealand, a real pivotal time in New Zealand history, where we were just being discovered by the world through the whaling industry, and the Bay of Islands, where he was the chief at the time, was the kind of economic capital of New Zealand. And so the reason I'm talking about that is because during his lifetime, he sort of managed the whole process of colonization that came across up in the Bay of Islands, and the impact it had on the Maori people here. And I talk in the book about, I work in the social services now, and I talk in there about the effects of those kind of things. And so my chapter, or my perspective, is a bit about a little landscape of what it would have been like for him in those times, what it's like being a Maori and a New Zealand citizen in 2021. And I talk about my obligations to him, and then also around what I see in my children holding up our ancestral field as well, in terms of the traits that we have within our lineage. And so it's like a timeline kind of thing, but it's very different perspective to Kati. That's why I think it works very well, the story. But mine is about, I think about fundamentally what my ancestor lived through, what he had to manage in the time of his life, and try and do my bit to uphold what he stood for back in those days. And I see those same traits in my children.
That's beautiful. It's a beautiful blend, your stories together. And can you let our listeners know what work that you're doing in the world now? We'll start with you, Kati.
So I'm a psychologist, as well as a yoga teacher and energy healer, and I run a healing center here in the Bay of Plenty, where all of these ankles to guide and empower and transform people come together. So in terms of psychology, I work with quite a bit of trauma therapy, in particular women. It's not that I don't accept men, it's just usually unfolding that way. It's mainly the women who, you know, actively seek help and support in that way. Yeah, so this is, you know, one of my focus, navigating trauma, healing from trauma and transforming and empowering women. And I facilitate workshops and courses, and I run retreats, women's retreats. And yeah, the main focus really is self-compassion, self-care at a very deep level, you know, not only the bubble baths and the massage, but actually really tapping into our own inner wisdom system and, you know, our deeper needs and how to bring them out, how to express them, and how to really look after ourselves in a sovereign and meaningful way. Yeah.
And if anyone wants to come and find you, where can they find you on the internet?
So my website is www.kati-ludwig.com. We can put it in the link because obviously,
yeah, I'll put it all in the show notes as well.
The spelling and all the rest of it. Yeah, so all the information are on my website, and you know, in the future I will be going online quite a bit more. So there's a few things in the pipeline for what we're offering at the moment, face-to-face at the Healing Center, will be transformed and transferred into the virtual world, and I'm really excited about that. Yeah, and there's also co-creations with Te Arahi in the pipeline, so it's an exciting time at the moment. Really an exciting time.
Gorgeous. And gorgeous that you're bringing the divine masculine in then, because what you just said is exactly what's happened to me with the book. I never put it out there for women, but it's been all women apart from you, Te Arahi, that have ended up coming in so far. I mean, we've still got time for men to join us if they're called. And some of the first people I actually asked were men, but they didn't feel it. So yeah, it's nice to bring in the, you know, to know that it's not just for women. It's a great balance, isn't it, when you've got both. So Te Arahi, can you share with our listeners what it is that you're doing in the world?
Yeah, well, I guess the first thing I should say is it's good that you have got a man in there. It's good to have a thorn amongst the roses there, Katie. So I'm happy to be in the book.
A beautiful thorn.
Yeah. So I administer and deliver a community youth program that's funded by the government, and it's designed around working with young offenders, so 18 to 12-year-olds. I just work with boys only because I know boys. I know where I'm at with young fellas, and but the reason I'm saying that to you is I think it's a very different skill set, not skill set, it's a different dynamic again. Yeah, so that's what I do during the day. The contract states I've got a mentor, and I've chosen to do it this year, one-on-one mentoring. I've done a lot of group stuff in the past, camps and those sorts of things. I really enjoy the one-on-one thing with these young guys though, because it's a real chance to connect and show them a little bit of a different way. And when it's just one-on-one with me, they really enjoy it. So yeah, that's what I do. I work with young guys during my sort of work hours, and yeah, I've got a very I've done a lot of personal development stuff over the years, all sorts of different things, and sort of all those modalities get mixed up, and I find myself, like Kati said, she mentioned around the journey I was able to take her on, that enabled her to access her ancestor to help her with the story. So I do things, I do those kind of things as well. So yeah, a bit of a journey around that as well, but it's all good.
And what you're doing is definitely a beacon for the part of the title, the mindful ancestors paving the way for future generations, because you're working so closely with the future generations of young boys in New Zealand. I think that's just beautiful work to be doing. It really does connect with the title, doesn't it? Where can people find you if they want to come and find you on the internet?
Oh, if they just Google and tearahi.com, you'll be able to find your way to me. Yeah, otherwise I did a TED talk a few years ago. If you Google and
I will put that. I'll put that in the show notes. I'll put it in the show notes.
Yeah,
it's that was a great TED talk.
Nice.
And what do you hope that this book will do for its readers?
Do you want to start?
Yeah, I guess. I think I was listening to YouTube's motivational stuff the other day, and there was a line that came up, and it was really good. And he said something like, "How can you be great so that you can inspire somebody else to greatness, and them in turn inspire others to their greatness?" Which is, when you think about it, is how it works, you know?
Yeah, it's a ripple effect, isn't it?
And certainly in my work, without changing subject too much, Katie, certainly in my work, I say to the young boys, you know, our ancestors, they want us to thrive as Maori in this world. And how do we do that, brothers? We do it one life at a time, i.e. your life and my life. And so going back to what you said, I think if somebody reads the words and they get inspired to put their own little story down, so that somebody else can read what they've written and be inspired by that, then I think that's a pretty good legacy for our chapter to leave with us.
Absolutely. And Kati, for you, what do you hope?
Well, you know, I feel it's the work and the, you know, the message that I've been sending out for a long time, and it's this, you know, embracing our vulnerability, you know, just like Brené Brown says, it's our biggest strength. And you know that oftentimes we beat ourselves up, you know, and reject so many aspects of us, but it's oftentimes these aspects that when we transform them and embrace them and then transform them, that are our greatest gifts and virtues and things that we have to offer. So for me, it's really bringing across that message that, you know, whatever it is, it's you know, that you're looking for, it's already in there, and it's here, it's in our hearts, we carry it in our hearts, and really embracing this and connecting and reconnecting with that, for me, is evolving on purpose, because it starts there. Yeah, so that's my message for people, you know. I hope that this inspiration and expression will plant some seeds out there.
Absolutely. And I think the title will call people who are seeking this kind of knowledge and wisdom and inspiration. And the book is released on the 22nd of October worldwide on Amazon. How do you feel about that?
Yeah,
it's not long.
Excited. It's not long. It's not long at all.
Are you ready for the launch? Are you ready for the build up to the launch?
Definitely. Definitely ready. Yeah. Yeah. Also, you know, I want to acknowledge you. We want to acknowledge you, Katie, you know, for bringing it all together and holding the energy, you know, the energy in the background, you know, getting, yeah, you know, calling in the people and holding it all together. I think this is not a little thing to do.
No, it's not. It's quite big. I mean, it took me a while. I was looking at publishing for a few months before I decided I'm doing this, because I've burnt out myself before and I'm disabled, so I didn't want to take on anything that I couldn't handle. But it's been a beautiful, beautiful journey. And the people that have come in, you're all such gorgeous souls. I have to say, it's been easier than I had envisioned it. You know, that again, the monkey mind came in and tried to talk me out of it. But I listened. I listened to the inner guidance, and I feel at home doing this. So thank you. It's been beautiful. Is there anything else you'd like to share with our listeners before we end this conversation?
Oh, I suppose I'll just say, e ngā hau e whahi mihi atu ki a koe I te mana, e ngā tāngata, e ngā whakapapa e tū mai nei. Nō reira, he mihi atu. So I just want to greet you in our native words from here in Aotearoa, and acknowledge all of you, the listeners, and your ancestors that stand above you from the four winds of the earth. And whatever you're doing, I hope you're doing it with a smile on your face and love in your heart and a bit of motivation in your belly. That'll be good.
And good food in your belly.
And good food.
And Kati, anything else you'd like to share before we leave?
Yeah, again, gratitude to you and to everyone who's coming together, to every soul that has come together, and also later on the souls that are deciding they're feeling called to read that book and to find out more about the authors. And I'm really happy that I was, I want to say almost forced, but it's not really quite the right word, but that I was invited to connect once again with my ancestry, even though there were a few blockages and some resistance, but actually really walking through in a gentle way, walking through that resistance is always the gateway to excavating the gold. And yeah, that's, I think, what describes every hero's or every heroine journey. Every goddess.
Absolutely. We all go through that resistance, don't we? And there are so many opportunities out there that we block ourselves and cut ourselves off from because of that resistance and that mind coming into play. Thank you so much for coming in today. It's been lovely to speak to you both.
Thank you so much, Kati.
You're welcome. It's lovely to talk to you.
Yeah.
Bye and for now. Sorry.
Bye.
Carry on. Were you going to say something else? Okay.
Bye.
Bye. I'll just